Aloha and welcome to Knitted Paradise, where the needles are clicking and the yarn is squishy. My name is Lucia, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Pearl of the Pacific. Today is Sunday, November 1st, and this is episode 95. Hello, and welcome to my knitting podcast. And I hope you all had a wonderful, safe, somewhat dry Halloween. It was very rainy here all day, all night. So I'm sorry for anyone who went trick-or-treating. We did not go trick-or-treating. We went over to a friend's house, played a bunch of Halloweeny games, and watched some Halloweeny movies. They weren't necessarily Halloween, but one was about werewolves and one was about vampires. So I qualify those as Halloweeny movies. They've got monsters in them. Anyway. And so that was fun. We played, the games we played were Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is very creepy. And then we played Mysterium. And it was, this is the first, I've played it a bunch of times, but it's a co-op game. But it's easier to play it in a group of people that you know well, because they're, I'm not going to explain the whole thing, but I'll leave it at that. It's easier to, so we played it with just the four of us, and it was much simpler because we knew each other, and it was quieter. I played it once with like 6 people, and it was just really loud and overwhelming, and we lost terribly because, yeah. Anyway, so that was really fun. And what else? We played a Lego game called Monsters 4, where you have to connect 4 monsters in a row. It was really fun. So that was fun. So yeah, let's get into the knitting. Below the conch shell, we have the fall colors craft along going on for October and November. And I know I've called it a knit along before, but generally my knit alongs cover craft, all sorts of fiber related crafts. So crocheting, spinning, felting, anything that's kind of related to the fiber arts. So just so you guys don't all feel excluded for spinning or crocheting. Sorry, it's not just knitting. That's just tend to be what I call it because it's what's easiest. But feel free to enter other things as well. There's one thread on Ravelry in the Knitted Paradise podcast group, and post anything you want in there. Finished objects are the ones that can win, but you feel free to chatter or post in project progress shots and things like that. It just makes it easier to have it all in one thread. So I will pull for that winner at the end of November. So you have a whole 30 more days to create, do fall related crafts. So if you didn't quite finish up your Halloween socks, you can still enter them. Okay, on the island, I have a pair of Ludmila socks by me that got some attention this week, both positive and negative. You'll see that these are a lot shorter than last time. This is a pattern by me that I released last week, or the week before. It was the week before. Anyway, it's out now. You can get it on Ravelry. It's called Ludmilla. It's named after my grandmother. And this is what it looks like in a tonal, which is GnomeAcres House Gnome in the Baby Gnome colorway. And they are a lot shorter this week because they're for my aunt, who has very large feet. And I asked her, I had knit them in like a 72 stitch, which is what I normally knit for my husband and other dudes. And thinking that I knew she had wide feet. All of my mom and her 3 sisters they have bigger bones. They're just built bigger, so they have wider feet. And I'm the weird petite one in the family. I don't know. Anyway, where was I going? So I had to rip them back because they weren't large enough. I had my aunt measure around the arch of her foot, which tends to be the largest, that or the ball of your foot. I think the arch is bigger. Anyway, I'll have to measure mine and find out. I don't actually know. So I had her measure, and they were going to be way too small, even if I stretched them. Like, even with any amount of like negative ease, they weren't gonna cut it. So I ripped them back and started over with more stitches. And now the cat wants to say hi. Are you coming to join me? So those are getting some attention now. We'll see how I'm not in a huge hurry to finish them, so we'll see. All right, next is my shawl design by Leading Men Fiber Arts, out of Leading Men Fiber Arts Soliloquy, and mine's in the glacial colorway. And I got a couple of repeats done, or not a couple of repeats, a couple of sections done. So that is it so far, and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm using my, actually I'm not going to take that one off, I'll show you this one. My sock set of stitch markers from LFK Stitch Markers. They were very kindly gifted to me by Anne, who owns Left Field Knits stitch markers, and they're little turtles. And this is the sock set, so it comes with two like this, like looped stitch markers, and then one like lobster claw. Where is it? I can't get this backward. There we go. Lobster clawed one, which is perfect for the shawl, I've realized, because the fixed stitch markers, I guess you can call them, can go on the edge to mark the edge stitches, and then the Progress Keeper lobster claw one marks the center stitch, which a lot of the stitch patterns change. You don't increase in the middle, but you have to mark the center, and I hate marking the center with a stitch marker on each side. That just annoys me. It gets fiddly. So this was a nice way to mark my progress and also the center stitch column. So these are perfect. And I'm still enjoying my Yarn Buddy. If I can get it here. By Sun Valley Fibers. And things I have learned about it this week is that it is best to pull parallel to the base of the Yarn Buddy. You can also pull this way, but sometimes it gets caught around this thing, which get annoying, but it does work. I did do it this week because I had this on the floor next to me and I was pulling from it, so it works that way too, but it's best when pulled parallel. The other thing I learned is that it makes an excellent cat pillow, as the cat demonstrated on Instagram. It also is very nice because the cat can't grab the ball. I think that's probably why he just uses a pillow, because sometimes he will stick his head into my project bags and grab the yarn cakes with his teeth and will take them with him wherever he wants to take them, and then try to attack them or eat them or whatever. So this keeps it nice and weighted so that the cat cannot take it out of the project bag. Bonus in my book. So I'm really enjoying that. Okay, we're just going to leave that in a pile right now because it's easiest. Alright, next is another shawl, which I started this week, and you'll see I have had a lot of fun with it. Ta-da! This is the Douche All by Maria Monska of the Stitched in Sweden podcast. And the yarn is Leading Men Fiber Arts handspun. I don't know who actually did the fiber, but it's a 100% BFL. Now I forget the colorway, and I don't have the tag with me. But it is a lovely ecru to gray to blue gray to a darker blue to a darker gray. There. That's pretty good. It's a little darker in person, but you get the idea. And it is a lovely pattern. I'm very close to being done, but I don't have enough yarn, which I knew going into it. I was thinking maybe I'll make some sections smaller, but I really don't want to do that because otherwise it's going to be too small. Already it's kind of a shawlette. I'm doing the smaller size. She does have two sizes, but I mean, it's pretty small. Like if this is the center, it's pretty small. So, I mean, it'll still go around, but I really need to find another yarn. So if anyone knows probably 100% BFL to keep with the slightly rusticness of it, and it's a really dark gray. It's not a black. I mean, I think the dye was black, but it doesn't. When it takes, it's not super black, and it's a fingering weight, heavy to light, kind of somewhere in the middle. It's a handspun, so variations in it. This is actually my first time knitting with a handspun, I've realized. And this is a very consistent handspun from what I understand. I'm not a spinner, so I don't actually know, but it's a very consistent handspun. So if you are not a spinner but would like to knit with some handspun, Steve sells his handspun in the Ladyman Fiber Arts shop, which you should check out. And this is how much yarn I have left. And I have, I think, 4 more rows and a picot bind off. So yeah, that's not happening. So if any of you have any suggestions, I did put a call out on Instagram for anyone who has suggestions for a tonal black, grayish BFL handspun. But I love the pattern. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the pattern. I knew going into it that I wouldn't have enough yarn because the yardage on the yarn was shorter than the yardage called for in the pattern. So that was my fault. And I was just seeing if I could make it work because I really wanted that yarn with that pattern. So we'll see. I may end up ripping it out and doing that pattern with another yarn because I love the pattern. It's a very well written pattern. And very simple, very easy to knit, which is great. So that's been my take along project this week, which you can see it got a ton of attention. So that's that. The last thing I have on the needles is my secret garden shawl. Oop, that's the back. Not very interesting. So this is a secret garden shawl by Alana Dakos from a kit from Little Skein and the Big Wool, and the yarn is by Western Sky Knits in their Magnolia sock, and the colorway I chose was Misselthwaite Manor, which is the name of the house in the book. And yeah, I'm loving it so far. Once I got it set up, it was a little fiddly to get it set up, but once I figured that out, I was fine. So it is charted. I don't think there are written instructions. So if you don't like charts, and these are not beginner charts, they're a little complicated charts. There's some funky stitches, but once you figure it out, it's not too bad. So that's it for On the Island. The only thing I have set sail was the button cloche, which I finished, I think, that Sunday that I recorded last week. And this is GnomeAcres Jazzy DK in the Beast colorway. And I love how it's swirled. It's a very lovely swirl. It's not a like obvious in your face kind of swirl, but it's a very, very nice one. And I do still have to put the buttons on. So once those are done and I clip the ends, they are woven in. This will go off to a friend of mine. And the pattern is by Jennifer Wise, but it's no longer available. I happen to have knit it before, so I had it. So I'm sorry, but that's the way it goes. It was free. I don't want to like send it to anyone because I don't know if she would be okay with that. But so sorry, you can't actually knit it. But anyway, moving on. Let's see. I've got some random things for the next few sections. So that's mostly it for the knitting. The only thing, Flora and Fauna. I did go through my yarn yesterday and chose a bunch of stuff to destash. Some of it is just some really old acrylic that someone gave me or I bought really early on in my knitting journey, and I'm probably just going to donate it to somewhere. Unless you want it, if someone wants it, if you want to pay for shipping, I will happily take it to the post office and ship it to you. So let me know if you'd like a garbage bag or so, or just some of it full of acrylic. If not, I think some of it will either go in the garbage or I'll see if I can donate it somewhere. We'll see. Some of the nice stuff I will sell on Ravelry. I'm going to see, it'll definitely be in my stash page under like will sell or trade. And then I may post a thread in the Knitted Paradise podcast group of things. And so of things that I'm going to destash. So just get in contact with me individually. I'm not going to show it all because that would be ridiculous. But yeah, so I will be destashing some things just because I'm a project knitter and I tend to buy things with specific projects in mind. And when I buy things and then with like a kind of nebulous project idea in mind and then I don't knit it soon, it tends to overwhelm me at a certain point. And I was kind of getting to that point. And there's a lot of other things that I want in it, and this kind of old stuff was weighing on me. Like, why aren't you knitting me? Why aren't you knitting me? Am I not pretty anymore? Of course they're pretty. They're all pretty. But I'm just laughing at my yarn voice. That was pretty funny. I hope you found that humorous. So there's some nice stuff. Some of it I'm going to keep for when people order things because there's some typical colors in there. You know, people are like, oh, do you have any like blues? And I'm like, great, I already have, a couple that are blues. I'm just not knitting with them. So I'm going to kind of put them in a different place and have them separate from like my stash. So it'll be like Pearl of Pacific custom knit stash and then like Lucia stash. So we'll do that. So that's the only knitting related thing. The other thing was that someone asked me a question on the Ravelry board about cleaning and organizing. So I thought I would talk a little bit about that. I think I talked last week that I had finished the Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up book, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I highly recommend it. You can find a lot of things online about the KonMari method, but the book really gives insight into Marie and kind of her tidying journey and some funny stories and kind of how she arrived at that method of cleaning and organizing. So that it's really worth the book read rather than just using the method. I mean, I highly recommend the method as well, but it is worth it to read the book. I was wondering, I'm like, well, I kind of already know the method. Should I read the book? I thought it was worth it to read the book. So the basics, I think I've shared this before, the basics of the KonMari method are to go through everything by category and pick up each item and decide if it sparks joy. If it does, you keep it. If it doesn't, donate it, recycle it, get rid of it somehow. And so that's the basics of it. And then after you've discarded, like you go through your whole house, each category, one category at a time. And maybe not necessarily one day, but to set a deadline for yourself and just kind of go through things periodically. And once you have gone through everything, then you figure out how to organize things. That's kind of where I broke it a little bit, is that like after I would go through a category, I would then figure out how to store it, just out of necessity. If I was thinking if I did the whole house in one day, then I could probably like then figure out how to store it after I went through everything. But like I went through my clothes one day, and then of course I need to use my clothes, so I had to figure out how to store them. So I did visit the Container Store. She was also interested in what I got at the Container Store. I got some drawers for some of my clothes. I have we have a closet. It's a standing closet. I wouldn't call it a walk-in closet. And then I have, which my husband has a section of, and then I have a smaller section of, because then I have a wardrobe from IKEA outside of the actual closet. And it has some space to hang things, and then has a shelf underneath that, and then the last kind of door, it's got 3 doors on it, is shelves. And there's really not enough shelves in there, is really the bottom line. So I got some drawers that fit in there, some 2 wider drawers that fit in there, and then 2 narrower drawers that kind of fit on top of those for socks and some other things. So I still got some, like, now that I'm using my system, I think I'm going to modify it a little bit because the socks are on the top and I'm short, and so I have to like open them and go like this, and it's hard to see, early in the morning, kind of in the dark, which socks I'm taking. Which is important when you have a bunch of painted socks. You need to match what you're wearing. At least I do. So, what else was I going to say? So that's kind of the basics of the KonMari method. Of you go through your things category by category, decide what sparks joy, discard of everything that doesn't, and then figure out how to store things. And you don't have to get fancy storage things. I got some fancy storage things because I didn't have anything lying around the house that was going to work for that particular solution. The other thing I got at the Container Store, which is a little from the Mainland thing, is a business card holder, which looks like this. And it was a whole 99 cents. Yep, that's right. And my business color, Pearl of Pacific / Knitted Paradise business color is purple, so I got the purple one. There were other colors too. So in it I have my Knitted Paradise business cards, which if you've seen me at any sort of knitting event, I've been handing these out. It's my swag of sorts. It has all the places to find us. And then the other thing I got this week were some new business cards for my custom knit Pearl of Pacific business. So that is the front. Got my website, my email, stuff like that. And then on the back I have the logo and the name. Ta-da. So the logo, if you're interested, is a paisley that I drew. I didn't draw it, I colored it, sorry. I traced it and then I colored it and then I scanned it into the computer and that's where the logo came from. Also the dots on the front came from that. Someone asked me the other day that I was working with them on something, so I just thought I'd share that. But this is brilliant because every time I need to have a business card, I don't. So this is a great way to carry them with you and keep them protected. That was the other thing I was worried about, like the edges, if I just kept moving them from bag to bag, that they wouldn't be protected. But now I can just grab this and they're protected and very nice. So I may be getting some more of those and keeping them in multiple bags. Let's see, what else did she want to know? I'll click over here and look at her thing. She also wanted to know if I have a cleaning schedule. I don't really. I just kind of clean when things need to get cleaned. Some things need to get cleaned every week, like the bathroom. The dishes kind of get done when they need to get done or when I have time. Vacuuming happens every few days. I don't have a schedule per se on like Monday I do this, Tuesday I do that, because my schedule, like my work schedule stays pretty similar, but like the evening schedule kind of is all over the place week to week. So I don't really have a schedule. Having people over though is a great way to get your house cleaned, just an FYI. In terms of other organizing tips, I don't know if I have any tips. I'm really enjoying the KonMari method of going through things by category. It's a really straightforward and simple way to do things, which I'm really enjoying. And also just, it's systematic. I'm a very systematic person. Being an engineer, techie kind of person, I like things that are systematic. And having a system, having a list, I love lists. They're a great way to keep track of things. And what else? Thinking. Okay, organizing tips. Sorry, I had to take a moment to think there. I guess my main organizing tips, if we're doing tips, would be to, I like setting goals for myself. I'm a very goal list kind of person. So if I know I'm going to have, a Saturday morning to, do stuff around the house, I make a list and I make goals and a timeline of okay, first you put the laundry and then while that's washing, do the dishes, and then, go switch the laundry and then vacuum and then, fold the laundry and stuff like that. Another tip, I think things that I've learned from the KonMari method is to, in terms of decluttering, because cleaning is different than decluttering and tidying, I've realized. That's another thing that has kind of come out of reading the KonMari book, is that cleaning is one thing. That's something you have to do all of the time, kind of as an upkeep thing. Whereas decluttering, according to Marie Kondo, you do it once and you don't really have to do it again if you do it correctly, according to her method, which is to go through your, set a goal. You don't have to do it all in one day, but set a goal of 3 months or 6 months or whatever you're comfortable with. And go through your house category by category and just go through your things by that category. For instance, yesterday I went through all of our electronics. I got them all out in one spot and I went through them. I'm like, okay, so these are the bits and pieces that go with this system, and these is the remote that goes with this electronic and stuff like that. And then things that we weren't, sometimes, I kept extension cords, a power strip, some other things, but all of the extra cords that, we've accumulated through the years that we just don't use went to Best Buy to be recycled. and that felt really good to just kind of get those out of the house that we're not using. They're taking up space. Make sure you don't get rid of anything that you need. That's another thing. Although certain things, it's easy to just buy them, I've realized. If you get rid of a power cord that you actually kind of needed, then, you can probably get another one. Amazon, eBay, it's pretty simple. But all of our stuff is plugged in, so I know it works. Another thing that I've realized is, having goals is good. Setting the timelines. I know I've said this already. This is actually the second time I've recorded the podcast, so that's why things are getting a little bit rambly. The first one, the sound didn't record, so we're trying to fix that now. But I don't know, I've always been someone who tidies on a regular basis. I'm not, I'll let things get a little messy, and then it just gets overwhelming at a certain point where I can't think straight when I'm surrounded by things that are just, they don't have a place. Having a place for everything is also very important, I feel like, in decluttering and tidying. Just to know where things go. At the end of your day, to put things away where they belong so that, the next day you can start with things clear. And, I could go on and on about cleaning and organizing and tidying and things like that, but I think you're all kind of probably bored at this point. If you stuck with it this long, props to you. If not, no worries. So I will sign off for this week. If you have any other questions related to knitting and or cleaning, organizing things, then feel free to post them in the Knitted Paradise podcast Ask Me Questions thread. I think that's what it's called. Let's find out because I have it up here. Got any questions for me? That's the thread name. So I hope you all have a great week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!